Welcome to TiE Atlanta at the W. My name is Ashish Thakur. I've been involved in TiE since about 2006. An interesting story real quick. My wife and I were in Colorado for some business, and I met up with the TiE Rockies chapter there. Met with their executive director and so forth, and found a contact at TiE Rockies for my company. So I'm just letting you know, TiE is a global organization. Leverage it nationally. If you have any questions...
Please join me in welcoming significant media, dominant media players in Atlanta who have graced our evening tonight. First and foremost, the lady who is singularly responsible to explain to me the First Amendment to the core. The founder of Creative Loafing, the president of Creative Loafing, the publisher of the story, Debbie Eason, please.
Atlanta chapter has been in existence for a while, and we've been able to put together a very good group of volunteers. It is a voluntary organization. We have a fantastic team here, and you've seen some of them in action, and most of the others who are in the audience today and some who are not here. I think they're the ones who help us put together our events, and thanks again.
I am a CIO, but I am not a user of this fancy technology. So at one point in time, I had an admin who would fast forward presentations for me. I don't have that anymore, so I have to learn how to use technology. With that, I am Salil Kulkarni, and I am the Chief Operating and Information Officer for VREMA. First, let me say thank you, CIOs, for taking the time out of your busy day, and thank you, Carl, for taking the time out of your hectic schedule for being here. We really do appreciate it. We're very proud of our organization, and it's folks like you who make it such. So, who are we? We're VREMA. We're an Atlanta-based company. We focus on helping the Office of the CIO.
So today's panel is, as you all know, CIO 2.0, Reinventing the CIO. And leading this panel is Carl Gilchrist of Spencer Stuart. He's the Chief Information Officer, Chief Technology Officer of Spencer Stuart.
First of all, let me introduce them. Marianne Goebel, who's the CIO for Fiserv. She's here in Atlanta because the IT organization is now headquartered in Atlanta, using the wonderful check-free facility, which is absolutely beautiful on the river. Ray Greer, CIO of CBavision. Jason Malfes, CIO of Recall, which is a part of Brambles, which is a huge Australian conglomerate. And Julie Davis, American Safety Corporation. Actually, the CIOs of much smaller corporations have grown up in very, very large Fortune 20 organizations, and now enjoying being CIOs of smaller companies. Not that it's any more less complex.
Interesting answer than I will have in terms of the role for the CIO in the strategy process, but you're absolutely right. I personally remember the days when I don't know that we actually talked much about strategy. We talked about responding and what projects were we going to work on and why was it late kind of thing. And now, particularly for me at Fiserv, since Fiserv is a technology company, I am the business. I am part of the business. And so it is a very natural thing to be part of the strategic discussions. In fact, it makes the conversations a lot more challenging, I think, for me than in the days when perhaps I worked for a company where IT was thought of more as the enabler than the business. One of the first strategy sessions that I attended, in fact, one of my colleagues stood up and started explaining SOA architecture to the rest of the...
And today, it's still transactional in some accounts, think about it. But in a company like Fiserv, I think it's much more, or a bank, take a bank, you know, most of us don't even go to banks anymore. I mean, you know, you can do so much electronically with it. And so I think from a strategic standpoint, the CIO's role is being dictated more and more from the type of company you're in, where if you think about it, the CIO is a senior partner at Google. You know, I mean, you can't have a company, Google, without strong technology. And I work for CBavision, make contact lenses and part of pharmaceutical companies, where it's more of a transactional type system. So the strategy part is, what are your key programs today? What's the next 2 to 3 years look like?
The same viewpoint as Ray and Marianne, and I do think organizations usually drive strategically the value that IT can add. I would probably challenge that and say it's the individual, the leader, whether you're in IT or finance, HR, marketing, sales, what really adds the value to the strategic table. And again, I was asked a question once, what do you think your CEO or CFO thinks about technology, hardware, or infrastructure? What's on their burning platform? My answer was very simple. They don't care. They don't care about the technology. They care about the value that you're going to be bringing to an organization, to the customers, and to your business. So strategically, sitting at a table, it's what is that value you can bring. You have to quantify it. You can't just bring a value add and go with what I would call a gut feel.
Carl, I'm Julia Davis, and I'm with American Safety Insurance. And when I took my first CIO role about 9 years ago, I was going through the strategic planning process, and it looked like I was going to have one little line item in the overall strategic plan that said this is what my expense was for the upcoming 3 years. To go from that to where I am today, where it's not me presenting the technology, it's my business leaders presenting the technology, saying this is where they see themselves going, that IT is an integral part of what they're doing, and that they're the ones actively promoting engaged, and why this is going to help them be able to grow more, build more, and do more. That's a huge shift for us in terms of IT and where we're at. And even in insurance, it's further behind than some other industries. That's one of the things I found. I went from manufacturing to financial services and then to insurance. And what I found along the way is each one of them, as I went into it, they were quick to embrace some of the technology ideas, and it was like lessons learned from each practice to carry that through. And when I got to insurance, it was a bit of a culture shock to realize, one, CIOs typically reported to either the chief operating officer or the chief financial officer, and they were an expense item. That's how they were treated. Expense ratio is very important.
What are your top priorities and challenges as you visualize over the next 12 to 18 months? And what does your budget look like as a CIO? When I did this, I did these panels all the time, and 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we were talking about doing more with less, and we're saying differently with less. I mean, what's going on with your priorities and challenges? What's the budget look like?
Sure. One thing that's interesting to note is I went to the Gartner Symposium in last fall. It was interesting to watch everybody in the room talk about how the majority of the room was taking a hit in their budgets, and they were reducing their scope by a considerable amount over prior years. When they asked, does anybody actually increase their budget by 10%, there were about 5 of us that raised our hands, and I was one of them. So I actually have helped put together a budget that literally has doubled in the last 5 years because of what we're trying to get to, which is making sure we can put in the right platform for growth.
Like Julia, though, I have been fortunate that my budget did not remain flat. It did also increase. So then we ask, what are the priorities? Well, my number one priority first was to say, look at the operational, the functional side of IT. I don't want to belittle it because it is very important and I'm a technologist, but the operational, the infrastructure, the day-to-day, keeping the lights on.
Budget growth has probably been compounded about 7% a year the last 3 years for me, so that's been good. I'm going to agree with Jason 100% in the form that probably all of us, a large portion of our budget is support. It's like I tell my team and everything that if I'm not taking an order or shipping an order, there's something wrong. Because no matter what I do, I need to do that every day, 7 days a week, and it needs to be flawless.
And to maintain it flat, though, I guess to talk a bit on that topic, I've only been with Fiserv, as I mentioned, a little less than a year, so after 3 months, I was deeply involved in the budget process, which makes it an interesting way to tackle your budget process. But our mission in keeping the budget flat was, I guess I'll say, along the lines of what these guys have said, and that is that the easy way out to me, and one of my mentors once said this to me, the easy way out of keeping your budget flat is reducing your projects.